You don't speak Mandarin. You're Taiwanese.
Mandarin. That's how I speak, dumbass.
Oh, for real? Oh, shit. My bad.
Wait, hold on. Mom. 讲讲讲。
Ray is probably the funniest. Ray is literally the funniest, like, friend Kaisenet has ever had. Like, I wish to meet him one day, and like speak his Mandarin. You guys are probably wondering what 9 a.m. means. I didn't tell you guys what 9 a.m. means. 9 a.m. simply means 9 ether. I'm a 9 ether. Like 9 ether simply means a black person. Then AM simply means Afro Mellow. If you guys are wondering, if you care. So if you clicked on this video, you now know what 9 a.m. means. So congratulations.
I was 11 when Dad got transferred and we ended up in the quiet corner of Santa Fe. It wasn't bad, just extremely hush-hush. It was a Halloween night, and I was out with my friends Mateo and Asher, hitting porch after porch until our pillowcases were dragging. By 9, the little kids had cleared out. The streets were quiet as we ducked into the park to sort through our haul before heading home. "Bro, the one with the full-size Snickers is king." Mateo grinned, already halfway through his second. "He ain't king until we hit every house," I said, nodding toward the one across the park. It sat alone without any jack-o'-lanterns or cobwebs, just dark windows and a porch that looked like it hadn't seen a visit.
I don't know why I don't recommend that to the president, you know what I'm saying? And why on earth would you go to a place that's so deserted, that's like so far from everyone else and so creepy, bro?
In years. Asher shuddered. "Ugh, Fred lives there. Nobody goes there." "Why not?" "You don't know?" Mateo leaned in, lowering his voice like he was about to spill state secrets. "Fred's wife vanished a year back. Most folks think he buried her." "What? Why?" "Susie was stunning and sweet, but way out of Fred's league. He knew that, and it ate at him. Always accused her of messing around with the mailman. Then one night, he did something horrible to her, and nobody ever saw her again." "What did he do?" "Not sure. Town people say Fred went full crazy and took an axe to her. You know, split her clean in half. Neighbors saw blood smeared on the windows and called it in, but when they searched the place top to bottom, they couldn't find anything. Fred swore she ran off with some guy," Asher added. I laughed and shook my head. "That's bullshit. If the cops searched his house and found..."
In the group that always wants to be right, that always wants to be proven right, even like there's evidence that like he's so wrong, like everything points to him being so wrong, but he wants to be so right. Who's that friend group? Who's that friend in a group?
Nothing, then nothing happened. It's just some made-up spook story. "I'm serious," Asher insisted. "Everyone knows Fred did it to her. Why do you think no one talks to him anymore?" "Okay, fine. If you really believe that story, let's go trick-or-treat at his house." Mateo looked nervous. I stood up and started walking toward Fred's house. "Come on, don't be babies." Up close, the house was worse. The paint was flaking off while the shutters dangled like broken limbs, and the smell was coming from somewhere that reminded me of the time a mouse died in our garage wall. I jabbed the doorbell before my nerves could talk me out of it. A few seconds later, Fred showed up. He was a very tall man with strong build. He had hairs.
Why does he look so familiar? Doesn't he look like that guy from regular show, the blue guy, the one, the undefeated game, with the mullet.
That touched his shoulders in a creepy stare. He had this axe in his hand that looked pretty rusted. Fred definitely looked scary. "Trick or treat," I fumbled, holding up my bag. He smiled slowly, then said in a deep voice, "Oh, of course. Let me get you something special." He turned and vanished into the house, leaving the door half open. We waited. The porch light buzzed overhead, and I could feel my smug little grin about proving Asher and Mateo wrong. Fred smelled weird and looked like he hadn't done laundry since last winter, but he was taking a really long time, like way longer than it takes to grab some candy from a bowl. "What's he doing in there?" Mateo whispered. Before I could answer, we heard Fred's low, muffled voice. He was talking to someone, but there wasn't supposed to be anyone else in that house, right? Maybe his wife didn't leave after all. I nervously chuckled. Asher crept closer to the door and peeked inside. His face went white. "Guys, you need to see this."
White, or because he's covered in paint, like for his costume. I think it's a ghost, by the way. But that was just like an expression to... That's a saying to say that, like, he's very scared.
We crowded around the doorway and peeped into Fred's living room. We could only see a portion of the room where we could spot a dining table with lit candles and plates. Fred came back a minute later, carrying 3 king-size chocolate bars, the expensive kind that usually cost like $5 each. "Here you go, boys," he said, handing them out. "Enjoy." "Thanks," we mumbled, but Mateo couldn't help himself. "Are you having a party or something? We saw your table." Fred's smile got wider. "Oh, that's for Susie and me. We're having a special dinner tonight." I felt my stomach drop. "Susie?" "Yes, she's been waiting for me to start eating. Very patient woman." Fred chuckled. "Would you boys like to meet her?" Before we could answer, he pulled the door wide open so we could see the whole dining room. Sitting at the far end of the table was a woman. She was wearing this fancy dress and had makeup caked on so thick it looked like a ski mask. But instead of her eyes, there were just empty sockets filled with something dark and moving. I squinted a little, and what I saw made the supper swirl in my stomach. The sockets were full of maggots. Her skin...
Bro, how do you even live with that, bro? Ah, damn, imagine if that was in real life. Like, how... Oh. Bro, look at them. They're worms, bro.
Was gray and stretched too tight over her bones, and her mouth was sewn shut with thick black thread. But the worst part was her smell. It was sweet and rotten, like fruit left out in the sun for weeks. "Isn't she beautiful?" Fred cooed. "Just as gorgeous as the day I married her. She never ages, never complains, never tries to leave me for other men." We screamed, loud enough to wake up half the neighborhood as we bolted faster than we'd ever run in our lives, across the park.
Number one, bro. I'm not laughing, but look who's number one.
And down the street until our lungs burned and our legs gave out. When we were almost near my house, we stopped to breathe. Asher and Mateo were staring at me with horror. I couldn't believe what just happened either. We never told anyone what we saw. Who would believe us? And like Asher said, even if we called the cops, Fred would probably just hide the body somewhere else by the time they got there. Hell, he'd done it before. I threw away that chocolate bar without even opening it. My friends did the same.
Okay, that one was like, yeah, I was like, yo, it's creepy though, but like, it was like, nah, not that scary, but very creepy and makes you like aware of people, of certain individuals, like, yeah.
I promised Mom and Dad I'd take Patricia trick-or-treating while they handed out candy at home. My little sister was 5 and obsessed with fairies, so she donned this sparkly pink costume with wings that kept getting caught on everything, while I threw on this old pirate outfit from last year. The street was packed with kids and parents. Patricia was having the time of her life, running up to every door and doing this little curtsy before asking for candy. She was being adorable, and I was absolutely enjoying myself for once, instead of feeling too cool for this stuff. Suddenly, my eyes went to a street light about 4 houses down. There was this tall guy, dressed exactly like Michael Myers from those horror movies, standing under it. His costume was perfect, like he'd walk straight.
Michael Myers and Jason. What's that guy's name? Jason from Friday the 13th. Which one do you think? Which character would win, like, in a battle? Or which character is the coolest? For me personally, I think it's
We do not
Michael
care.
Myers. I like the costume, I like his personality, bruh. I like the way he people, you know what I'm saying?
out of the set. He stood like a mountain, peering at the rest of us.
Brian, look!
Patricia tugged on my sleeve, holding up a full-size Snickers bar.
The nice lady gave me the big candy.
That's great, Patty, I said, but I kept glancing back at the guy who was still glaring at us. We hit a few more houses. Patricia was getting excited by the hour. But every time I looked over my shoulder, the man was still there, always the same distance behind us, never getting closer, but never falling back either.
Why isn't that man getting candy?
Patricia asked, following my gaze. I don't know, Patty. Maybe he's just watching his kids or something. I said that, but I didn't see any kids with him, and he never moved toward any of the houses. He just followed us from one house to another. By the time we'd gone 6 houses, my stomach was twisting into knots. The man hadn't said a word. He hadn't waved at anyone or done anything normal. He just stood there in that horrible mask, watching us through those empty eye holes. Come on, Patty, I said, taking her hand. Let's head back home.
But we just started. I want to get more candy.
She whined. We can come back out later with Mom and Dad. As we turned around and started walking back toward our house, I heard footsteps behind us, mimicking ours. I glanced back to find the man trailing after us.
Ryan, you're squeezing my hand too tight.
Patricia complained. Sorry. I loosened my grip, but didn't let go. Patty, we need to walk a little faster, okay?
Why?
Just listen to me. I picked up the pace, pulling Patricia along. Behind us, the footsteps got faster, too. My heart started pounding. This wasn't my imagination. This guy was definitely following us. We were 3 blocks from home when I heard the footsteps speed up even more. I turned around and saw the man walking faster, his arms swinging at his sides. Something metallic glinted in his right hand. My eyes widened when I caught the edge. He was holding a huge butcher knife that looked just like the one from the movies. Run, I whispered to Patricia.
What?
Run! I grabbed my sister's hand and we bolted down the sidewalk. Behind us, I could hear the man break into a full sprint. Heavy boots pounded against the pavement, getting closer with each step. Patricia's fairy wings were slowing her down, catching on bushes and mailboxes. She was stumbling and trying to keep up with my longer legs.
Ryan, I can't run this fast.
The footsteps were right behind us now. I could hear his breathing through that horrible mask. We were close, really close. Just then, Patricia... We're close, really close. Just... Patricia tripped and went down hard, scraping her knee on the concrete. She started screaming, not just from pain, but from terror. She had seen the knife too. I didn't blink, just scooped my little sister up in my arms and kept running as her fairy wings crushed against my chest. She couldn't have weighed more than 40 pounds, but my legs were on fire. The man was so close I could hear the knife cutting the air as he swung it. Luckily, our house was just a short distance apart. I ran harder than I'd ever run in my life. I fumbled with the door handle. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely grip it. When the door finally...
He didn't stop, I was gonna catch them. You know that, right?
opened, I shoved Patricia inside, slamming it behind us and turning every lock. What happened? Dad rushed over from the living room where he'd been watching TV. Mom was right behind him. There was a man, I gasped, still trying to catch my breath. He was following us and he had a knife. Dad's face stilled. He grabbed his baseball bat from the closet and headed for the door. Call the police, he told Mom. Dad, don't go out there. But he was already outside, bat in hand, looking up and down the street while Mom dialed 911. He came back in 5 minutes. You sure you saw him there? I nodded. The cops showed up 20 minutes later and took our statements. They searched the neighborhood, but didn't find anything. The officer said it was probably just someone's costume that scared us, that we might have overreacted. But the next morning, Dad found deep stabbing marks over his mailbox. Those were fresh cuts that definitely weren't there before Halloween night. The police came back and took photos, but they never found who did it. Patricia had nightmares for weeks after that. She'd wake up screaming and sobbing. Mom had to sleep in her room until she felt safe again. I never told my parents about the part that scared me the most, how perfectly steady he was throughout, like he'd done this before. We moved to a different neighborhood the next year. Dad said it was for a job, but I knew the real reason. Every time we drove past our old house, those knife marks were still there on the mailbox, reminding everyone that monsters sometimes wear masks and walk among us on Halloween night.
Okay, that one was like creepy also and scary. What made it more scary is the kid, bro. Imagine that guy caught up to them. What was he gonna do to the child, bro? Like, I am very sensitive when it comes to kids. I'm very sensitive. So, yeah, that one was scary for me.
I was grounded on Halloween night because I had, forgotten to take out the trash for 3 weeks straight, which felt like...
What the... Bro, how do you not take out the trash for a month? That's like a month. 3 weeks like a month, bro. He's spoiled, bro. He's spoiled. My parents were get the belt.
Like the worst punishment in the world when you're 10 years old.
No costume, no candy, or leaving this house, Tristan. Maybe next year you'll be more responsible.
Mom warned. So, I sat...
Badasses gonna sneak out when their parents are asleep or something, bro. Look at him. He's gonna sneak out. Definitely gonna sneak out.
By my window, listening to groups of kids laughing and running down our street. By 10, the house was quiet. Mom and Dad had gone to bed early, probably exhausted. That's when I made the stupidest decision of my life. I grabbed my vampire costume from the closet, found an old pillowcase, and snuck out through the back door. The street was mostly empty now, except for a few teenagers heading home, but some neighbors were still answering their doors. I actually managed to collect a decent amount of candy, feeling pretty proud of myself for pulling off the great escape. I was heading back home when I decided to take a shortcut through Willow Park. It was this old playground that the city kept meaning to update but never did. During the day, it was fine, but at night, it felt like a graveyard with rusted swings creaking in the wind and broken streetlights casting weird shadows. That's where I saw her. She was sitting on one of the swings, rocking slowly back and forth, donning an old wedding dress, but it was torn and dirty, like she'd been dragging it through mud. Her long black hair hung down over her face, and she was humming under her breath. I stopped walking, trying to make out the words. It sounded like a nursery rhyme intentionally sung off key.
Ring around a rosy, pocket full of posies, ashes, ashes, we all fall down.
Something about the way she sang it made my skin crawl. It wasn't playful like when kids sing it. It sounded sad and angry at the same time. I should have turned around and found another way home. Every instinct I had was telling me to get out of there. But I was 10.
Listen to your parents. When they say don't go out to the Halloween, don't go to Halloween, you're grounded. It's probably a reason. You wouldn't have met up with a ghost, bruh. A wedding ghost. Probably gonna slit your throat. Get stuck in the parallel.
Stupid and curious. I dragged my feet closer. Just then, the swing stopped moving. It halted like someone had grabbed the chains, defying every law of physics I'd later know. Slowly, the woman lifted her head and looked right at me. I'll never forget her face until my last breath. Her skin was pale and mottled, like meat that had been left out too long, but it was her eyes that made me want to scream. She smiled really big.
Come here, little boy. Come play with Sarah. Sarah's been so lonely.
I couldn't move. My legs felt like they were made of concrete. She started to stand up from the swing, and that's when I saw the rest of her. The wedding dress was stained crimson, and there was a rope burn around her neck like someone had tried to hang her.
I said, come here.
She hissed, agitated. The evident fury bounced across the playground and smacked right through my bones. That broke whatever spell had frozen me in place. I sprinted faster than I'd ever run in my entire life, hearing her giggles right by my ears. The pillowcase was long forgotten. I made it home in record time, slipping back through the rear door and up to my room without waking my parents. My heart was hammering so hard I thought it might explode. I changed out of my costume and got into bed, pulling the covers over my head. Maybe I'd imagined the whole thing. Maybe it was just some hobo who'd wandered into the park and my 10-year-old brain had turned her into a monster. But the singing, I heard the singing crystal clear, and I was hearing it again.
Ring around the rosy, pocket full of posies.
I peeked over my blanket and nearly wet myself. She was there, pressed against the window, staring at me with those horrible eyes. Her face was squished against the glass. Her black hair was spread out like spider legs.
Ashes, ashes, we all fall down.
She sang, grinning, looking me straight in the eye. I tried to scream for my parents, but no sound would come out. I could only lie there, trembling like a leaf, while she hummed that rhyme over and over again. Each time her fingernails scraped against the glass, I'd flinch, whimper, and sob. This went on for hours. Every time I thought she left, I'd hear that scratchy voice again.
Ring around the rosy.
The worst part was that my bedroom was on the second floor. There was no tree outside my window or anything else that could remotely explain a climb, but she was right there, lurking and giggling. Exhaustion might have taken over somewhere, because the next thing I knew, sunlight was streaming through my window, and my alarm was going off. For a few seconds, I thought it had all been a nightmare, the worst nightmare of my life, but still a dream. Then I saw it. Stuck in the corner of my window frame was a piece of dirty white fabric. When I opened the window to get a better look, I realized it was a piece of wedding veil, old and yellowed, with dark stains that looked suspiciously like dried blood. I never told my parents about that night. I was too terrified and confused. They would have thought I was making up stories to get out of being grounded anyway. I found out later from my friend's older brother that a woman had killed herself in Willow Park about 10 years ago. She'd been left at the altar by her fiancé and couldn't handle the humiliation. They found her hanging from the swing set, still wearing her wedding dress. Her name was Sarah Mitchell, and according to the newspaper articles, she'd been dead for days before anyone found her. I never took that shortcut through the park again. Even now, I drive the long way rather than pass by those swings.
Thank you all guys for watching. If you made it to the end, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. So, see you on the next one. Deuces.